Hello, good people. Welcome to the December 2025 Scroll Report, where we scroll back through the month of November 2025 to cull anything worth keeping. Do you like my new getup? I thought I'd ditch the black t-shirt because I was looking a little bit too much like Benny Johnson. And Lord knows Benny Johnson's the last man on earth that I'd like to be compared to. Well, that said, it's now time for BoomScroll and DoomScroll. And the first BoomScroll of November 2025 goes out to 24 Buddhist monks from Hongdao Vipassana Bhavana Center in Fort Worth, Texas. They are undertaking a 3,700-kilometer pilgrimage across the United States, walking for 110 days to promote peace and mindfulness. The Walk for Peace, which began on October 26th, goes through 10 states as they journey from their temple in Fort Worth, Texas, to Washington, D.C. Condolences go out to one monk, Abante Dam Famasan, who was involved in a traffic accident near Houston shortly after the walk started. A driver in a pickup truck did not stop fast enough to avoid a pilot car traveling alongside the monks, and he ended up being hit and unfortunately had to have his leg amputated last week. And I definitely wish to convey my deepest compassion, prayers, and support for Bhante Dam Famasan as he focuses on his recovery. And a great big boom scroll to Leonard Peltier, who is still, after all this time, not quite free. Leonard Peltier is a Native American activist and member of the American Indian Movement, or AIM, who was convicted of murdering two FBI agents in a June 26, 1975 shooting on the Pine Ridge Indian Reservation in South Dakota. Peltier has always claimed complete innocence in the Pine Ridge incident and has been pushing for clemency since 1999. Clemency or parole has been denied him all these years until finally in January 2025, President Joe Biden, on his last day in office, commuted Peltier's sentence to house confinement. So Peltier has been living on the Turtle Mountain Reservation and last Thanksgiving gave his first National Day of Mourning address. And no matter how you might feel about Thanksgiving being a patriotic holiday or a national day of mourning, I think there's still room to allow Peltier's words into your heart to expand your bubble on just that day. Here goes a boom scroll for the Boston Public Library, who have digitized dozens of M.C. Escher prints and put them online for everyone to enjoy. Thank you very much for that. We have a shared boom scroll this month for Carol Cadwallader and Dr. Stacy Patton, who both managed to find a connection between AI and Epstein and the presidency and Epstein. I think that it's an interesting comparison to find how deeply ingrained the crimes that Epstein has been accused of is entwined with the mechanisms of power. Cadwallader discovered that if you take the Bloomberg AI bubble graphic, the one that shows just how incestuous all the dealings are with AI development, and map them to Epstein's circle, they map pretty closely. If I had an ounce of artistic talent, Cadwallader says on Substack, I'd redraw that Bloomberg graphic with Trump and Epstein in place of OpenAI and NVIDIA, and a load of arrows flowing out and around to Woody Allen, Peter Mandelson, Noam Chomsky, Steve Bannon, and Michael Wolff. Does anyone want to have a go? Although there are some overlaps, you'll be unshocked to hear. Peter Thiel was an early investor in OpenAI and is all over the emails palling it up with Epstein, though not as much as Lawrence Summers, the 70-year-old former U.S. Treasury Secretary and ex-president of Harvard, asks Epstein for advice on how to deal with his young girlfriend. And he's also on OpenAI's board. And the journalists. Oh God, the journalists. The writer and journalist Michael Wolff, who repeatedly helped Epstein strategize on how to counter negative press conference. Yeah, it's worth looking into. And Dr. Patton, on her Substack, reminds us, Trump ain't the first U.S. president to be accused of pedophilia. The long history of sexual exploitation of children shows why this country has never genuinely cared about protecting kids over powerful white men. Dr. Patton takes it back to the Mayflower and goes from there. From the beginning, American law did not conceptualize minors as people. Instead, children were understood as labor, property. Under English common law, the age of consent was 10 or 12 for most of the colonial period. A female's assault was treated as a property offense. Boys had no legal protection at all, not to mention enslaved black children. Early teen marriages were common and legally encouraged. White working-class girls were routinely assaulted, and boys were criminalized for being victims while their offenders went free. This was the legal tradition early presidents inherited and upheld. Dr. Patton focuses on 4 U.S. presidents, to be specific: Thomas Jefferson, John Tyler, Grover Cleveland, and Warren Harding. Jefferson, of course, had his relationship with Sally Hemings when she was somewhere between 14 and 16 years old and enslaved. John Tyler had a relationship with Julia Gardner, which began when she was an adolescent. Tyler first encountered her when she was approximately 15. Grover Cleveland's marriage to Frances Folsom involved a significant power differential. He had known Folsom since infancy, managed her inheritance, and maintained a position of substantial authority within her family. The shift from guardian-like oversight to courtship has been widely identified by historians as an example of 19th century grooming mechanics. Warren Harding's long-term relationship with Nan Britton raises similar concerns. Britton became publicly associated with Harding as a teenager, describing a relationship that emerged out of her adolescent admiration and Harding's adult political stature. Beyond these individual cases, we also have George Washington, James Madison, James Monroe, and Andrew Jackson that we can kind of look at. So yeah, this whole thing that's happening now, not a new thing at all. Now, how about those Democrats, hey? Democratic socialist Zoran Mamdani won the Democratic nomination for the mayor of New York and then subsequently went on to win the mayoral race with the Democrats barking at his heels the whole way. This was a massive win for the left. Mamdani scared the right so much that residents of Kentucky demanded to know why they were not allowed to vote for the mayor of New York City. Mamdani even pawned Donald Trump when he met with him in the Oval Office on November 23rd. A reporter asked him if he still thinks that Trump is a fascist. Would you be willing to call him a fascist to his face? And then Trump goes, "Oh, he can call me a fascist anytime he wants." Oh, I mean, the bromance was just palpable. And then Mamdani goes, yeah, he's a fascist. And you know what? Donald Trump is a fascist. And that may be the problem here. He doesn't mind being called one anymore. Democrats also had a clean sweep of Virginia in November. Abigail Spanberger won the governor's race. Ghazala Hashimi won the lieutenant governor. And Jay Jones emerged as the next attorney general. Jay Jones had also been experiencing some controversy for some incendiary remarks that he had made in the past. And still, despite that albatross hanging around Jones's neck for the last weeks of the campaign, he still managed to beat out Trump toady and loser Jason Miyares. Thank goodness for that. And really, the only thing I can say to that is, ha ha! And the last BoomScroll of November 2025 goes to the Word of the Year. And of course, Oxford's Word of the Year got the most attention, that being rage bait, online content created to generate outrage for clicks. And I'll touch a bit more on this later, but this is really one of the strongest methods of social control that the tech oligarchy is using on us. Cambridge University's Word of the Year was parasocial. Parasocial describes the intense, one-sided fan connections with public figures, amplified by social media and AI. Dictionary.com's Word of the Year was 6-7. A viral, often meaningless number used by Gen Alpha to convey feelings like so-so, showing rapid digital slang evolution. I kind of think that maybe Dictionary.com missed the mark a little on that. But I'm a boomer. What do I know? The Economist's Word of the Year was brain rot, a term for the supposed mental decline from consuming excessive, low-quality digital content. All I know is the stuff my parents told me would rot my brain ended up being some of the best things in life. And let's throw a quick doom scroll out to one Sam Altman, who just keeps confusing me about this AI bubble. He was on a podcast last month with the All Things AI with Altcap at Sama and Sanandiala Halloween special with Brad Gerstner, where he said something that reminded me a lot of the Enron disaster, where he said, hey, if you want to sell your shares, I'll find you a buyer. Yeah, that's pretty much something that a con man says when you're about ready to bail on a bad deal. So, are we in an AI bubble or not? It's so hard to tell with all of the data going back and forth, NVIDIA posting record profits. And, am I just wanting it to fail and this being a little wishful thinking? Hey, I know it's tough telling what's real these days, but I'm pretty sure I can keep betting on AI being a bubble. And we've got a doom scroll for Professor Archive, a YouTube channel that shares documentaries on American history, politics, and Christian heritage, exploring forgotten stories, cultural shifts, and key events that shaped the nation. On November 15th, Professor Archive released a documentary called The Exact Moment the Bible Belt Started to Die. We Can Prove It. The premise of this documentary is staggering. That people are leaving the Southern churches in droves, even while those very same churches are becoming more and more politically extremist. A lot of the evidence for this has been masked by, number one, the pandemic, and number two, the tech oligarch takeover of social media. Professor Archive attributes this contrition to the invention of Instagram and social media to kind of show the people in the South what the rest of the world really looks like. Professor Archive asserts that the state apparatus in the South used the church as a method of control for the people, and that they offered as the value proposition for that a social cohesion that the church would afford. Now, I believe that a lot of the tech bros, specifically Elon Musk and Mark Zuckerberg, saw the writing on the walls and saw the amount of social control that was capable from owning a social media property. And then came the pandemic. And along with it came what we call a loneliness epidemic. Well, Professor Archive actually believes that loneliness epidemic can be traced directly to the collapse of the Bible Belt. That social cohesion that the state permitted through the use of church activities left people with nothing. And now people are kind of lost. And, I do believe that a lot of it was the pandemic, especially among the young. But I also believe that a disconnect between our spiritual lives and our social lives has caused a lot of this loneliness epidemic as well. But more than this, more than the fact that we've got a lot of knuckleheads who really don't know how to act coming into our social circles now. It's hard to keep up with, but I think a bigger problem is that we still have mechanisms of control that people with enormous wealth and power can leverage over the rest of us. Let's take, for example, one Errol Musk. You might be more familiar with his knucklehead son Elon, but this guy here, he's a piece of work. I mean, this guy could be an American president. He's had 2 secret children with his stepdaughter. He and his son have promoted false claims that white South African Afrikaners are the victims of genocide and should emigrate to the United States for refugee settlement. The big concern at the moment, and why I think South Africa is a big talking point in the U.S. right now, is America, in the next 20 years, will become, for the first time in its history, a white minority country. We really need to find that guy who came up with the bright idea that by a certain date America will no longer be a white majority country. Take him out to the woodshed and have a couple of words with him. That is the most ridiculous proposition, and all it's meant, it's just rage bait, right? I mean, it would be funny if it wasn't so destructive. The lengths these tech bros go to maintain some sort of social control over us. I mean, we were laughing pretty hard last month at Grok, Elon Musk's AI darling. I mean, the internet went bananas in November over Grok, Elon Musk's AI darling, which became sycophantic about Elon Musk to the point of absurdity, asserting that he is a better role model than Jesus, the greatest blowjob giver of all time, and should have been selected before Peyton Manning in the 1998 NFL draft, a better pitcher than Randy Johnson, and has the potential to drink piss better than any human in history. Like I said, it'd all be hilarious if it wasn't for the fact that this enormous power to control people's thoughts are in the hands of a man such as this. And now we come to Mizwell Yell at the sky. It's almost the end of the year now, and I think we can safely say that for the first time in 35 years, there was not a single rap song in the top 40. This was a watershed moment for the genre, very similar to 2002 when Nickelback's How You Remind Me hit #1 on the Billboard Hot 100. That's the last time a rock song hit the #1. So I'm going to call it. Rap music is now in the dustbin with rock, jazz, and blues. And maybe that's a good thing. First, let's make sure that we're comparing apples to apples. Because even though a rap song hasn't hit #1 in 2025, there still have been rap songs scattered all through the top 40. And likewise, the last #1 rock song was in 2002, but there have been rock songs in the top 40 since. Likewise with the blues, the last #1 hit being 1964 Rolling Stones' Little Red Rooster, but there have been blues songs in the top 40 since then. And jazz, the last #1 song was Mac the Knife by Bobby Darin in 1959, but there's been plenty of jazz music in the top 40 since then. So, is rap as dead as rock, blues, and jazz? I'm still going to say so, because something is definitely happening with pop music these days. So for this discussion, I am going to separate rap from hip-hop. Rap being a subset of hip-hop, at least for this discussion. So hip-hop is still doing just fine. Don't you worry about that. We're not talking about hip-hop. We're talking about rap as a component of hip-hop. Has always been the subject of intense racism. From the state trying to litigate rap music into obscenity, to our constabulary calling it criminal, to members of our own community either trying to enrich themselves on the reputation of rap music or just to drum up some rage bait. I've always used rap music as something of a lightning rod for racism. I've always been able to assume that anybody who doesn't like rap music is racist. And I've usually been right. Whenever I scratch the surface a little, I find a racist underneath a rap hater. But things are changing. I'm now starting to see people I respect greatly turning away from rap music, turning away from the misogyny, the glorification of violence, the drugs as subject matter. But more deeply, I think that people are no longer willing to be swayed by a singular voice dominating the culture. I think we are starting to move away from that. Pop music, on the other hand, is going through something right now. Even though most pop songs are only written by a small handful of people, the songs themselves are becoming more grandiose and baroque, much more complicated. It's not uncommon anymore to encounter a pop song with literally hundreds of tracks. The music has gotten so dense and so complex, it's almost muddy to me. And then we have AI. Computer-generated music, binaural beats, AI pop songs. We even have Zania Monet, an AI pop star whose song How Was I Supposed to Know hit #1 on the R&B charts in September. So what makes me happy is my belief that every story isn't a story until it's finished. So I want to think of the rap story as being finished now. The same way that hip-hop in general and rap in particular closed the Great American Songbook. It's now a done deal. Hip hop used it as a resource rather than a living document to keep contributing to. And I think that will be hip hop slash rap's greatest legacy. And I think that rap music is not going anywhere. It's just going to become more artistic, the same way that jazz, blues, rock, and other black started music eventually ends up as. So I don't know if I succeeded in persuading you that rap music is dead now. Long live rap music. And I'm sure we'll probably see some resurgences in the future, just as we saw rock resurgences and folk resurgences, etc., etc. But I think as dominating the charts for a decade or more, that time has passed, and I'm beginning to think that nothing will ever replace it again. See, I see music as going in two different directions now. There's going to be what I will continue to call music, which is live music. And then there will be generative music, AI music, curated music, music that you take ownership of. You know, it's been coming. We see that this is my music. This is my playlist. And we take possession of that music. And you know what? I think it's fair for that music to be a little AI generated. It's going to be okay. Whatever makes you happy, whatever fills out your environment and your personal space will become your personal music. But I think live music is not going anywhere. It's getting bigger and bigger. We have everything from the Sphere in Las Vegas to your local bar, karaoke bar. You know, that kind of music is always going to be. And I think, as we are dealing with our loneliness epidemic and all of that, we're going to start seeing music as a social glue that's going to bring us all together. I like to follow the advice of Carolina Chocolate Drop's former member Rhiannon Giddens, who implores us to study the instruments of our ancestors. Learn how to play the music your ancestors played, and then share that with somebody else. What a wonderful idea. What a great way to get over this loneliness epidemic. And now we have the Scroll Bits. Book of the month is Rhiannon Giddens and Christina R. Gaddy's Go Back and Fetch It, Recovering Early Black Music in the Americas for Fiddle and Banjo. Gaddy and Giddens both implore us to study the music of our ancestors, in their case the fiddle and the banjo. They put together a book of 19 songs that explain the significance of early Black Atlantic music and how the patterns of tunings, melodic lines, and lyrics impact of 19th century popular music, early country, old time, and bluegrass. Each tune is paired with an engaging essay on its historical background and how the tune has transformed over time. Deeply researched and carefully approached, this essential source restores the roots of Black music to the musical canon. There was a lot of great live music in November. Billy Strings did a dynamite Halloween event themed Meet Me at the Crypt at Baltimore CFG Bank Arena. David Byrne did a Tiny Desk concert that was out of sight. Singer-songwriter Erykah Badu stopped by the New York Times on November 20th and blessed the newsroom with a very special live performance featuring songs from her classic albums. I have just one thing to say. Ms. Badu, where is your album? We promised us a new album this year and we haven't seen it. I'm waiting with bated breath. Please release your album. Well, the gullible have hit the vein. 'Cause Koons is on sale again. Yes, Jeff Koons. That artist who tried to copyright the balloon dog and eventually gave up because he knew it was untenable, had his first show in New York in 7 years at the Gagosian Gallery, which the Art News labeled dreadfully dull. And looking at his porcelain sculptures, I kind of see why. And 40 years ago, November 18, 1985, a new comic strip appeared in the newspaper, Calvin and Hobbes. In my opinion, the greatest comic strip ever written. 40 years old today. Thank you so much for all of the laughter, Mr. Watterson. Hey, you think Pedro Pascal fatigue is a real thing? I tell you, I got a good dose of it after watching Fantastic Four. And he's got 2 other movies out this year, Materialists and Eddington. But I haven't been able to see it because I'm just too tired of Pedro Pascal. Sorry. Oh, I also have an important message for Saros Whaley of Saros TV YouTube channel. He put out a video essay a couple of weeks back entitled Black Cosplay Isn't a Controversy, where he shared with us just how tired he is of having his skin color called out when he is cosplaying fantasy at conventions and other places like that. It reminds me of a story I read in 2016 about Solange Knowles being assaulted at a Kraftwerk concert for dancing. So my message for Mr. Whaley is, please hang in there. Please try to scoop up just another spoonful of patience for these people. You see, they've left their churches. They're wandering around looking for a place to belong. They don't know how to act any better. Let's make a little room for them, please. I know you're tired. I know you're hurting. I know it's asking a lot. But please, screw your patience to that sticking place for just another day, a week, year, month. Hopefully, it will change. A change is coming. Hopefully that's enough for you. I really hope so. And now, Memento Mori for November 2025. On November 24th, we lost Jamaican reggae singer Jimmy Cliff. He died of pneumonia at age 81. He was known for such hits as You Can Get It If You Really Want It, I Can See Clearly Now, Wonderful World, Beautiful People, and The Harder They Come. His music lives forever. Playwright Tom Stoppard passed away at age 88 on November 29th. Stoppard was known for many plays. We did Rosencrantz and Guildenstern Are Dead on my high school drama club. He also got an Oscar for writing the screenplay for Shakespeare in Love, and has ghost-written other screenplays such as Brazil, Empire of the Sun, and The Bourne Ultimatum. Towering intellect of our age, one of England's last great playwrights. And a very special Memento Mori goes out to my former co-worker, Andre Owens, who passed away last week. You were one hell of a man, Andre, and we all miss you terribly. And there you have it, the Scroll Report for November 2025. To sum up, there sure are a lot of knuckleheads out there. A lot of them are running free, don't know how to act, and some of them have their fingers on our necks. But there are a couple of ways out of the situation. One is to embrace socialism. like Zoran Mandami, and stay on message. Another is to support your local food pantry. Not only are you taking money out of the agribusiness cycle, but you are also building a focal point in your community where people meet and get together and make plans. 3 organizations local to the Washington, D.C. area are the Capital Area Food Bank, member of Feeding America, the Maryland Food Bank, and the Manna Food Center. I'll be leaving links to these organizations in the newsletter to come out this Tuesday. So thanks so much for watching this issue of the Scroll Report. Leave a comment, leave a like. This is a conversation. I'm still looking for volunteers, so if you have content you'd like to contribute to the Scroll Report, drop me a line. There's many ways you can reach me, but you can definitely catch me at TonyMacFarlane.com. All the same, thanks for your eyes, and I wish you the best December 2025 ever. Bye.